they have never in this Big Three era lost the first 2 games of a series. Stevenson inside, gets the layup. Wade, hot step, high over Mahimi, bounce, and somehow it goes in. West right back to Stevenson, gets hammered, and one!
Lance Stevenson, a straight ball.
Bounce passed away for an open dunk. The Eastern Conference Finals are tied at 1 game apiece.
We wanted to see, could Miami bounce back? Could Indiana keep it up after their big Game 1 performance?
Heavyweight battle. We've all kind of waited for this moment to see this 1 seed versus the 2. Maybe didn't think Indy would be the 1 seed, but they've proven to be thus far.
And they proved it in the first game, but the champs.
The champs is here.
The champs are here.
Well, Game 1, Indiana scored a whole bunch of points. Hadn't seen that during the playoffs. And LeBron James had a good game, but Paul George was able to contain him. Miami's never gone down 2-0 in a best-of-7 playoff series since LeBron joined the club. Lance Stevenson trying to be the first squad to do it. He started off hot, 3 of 3. Then Miami in the second quarter goes on a 9-0 run.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade, it particularly was one that kind of was the culprit in that run, in attack mode, not settling for the jump shots, putting a lot of pressure on that Pacers defense.
Meanwhile, on the other end, Paul George, 1 of 11 first-half points, Rick.
Put a lot of effort defending LeBron James, but not enough of that. Not enough attacking the rim. I think he would have had more success at the free throw line. He only had 2 free throws in the first half. Too many long jump shots.
Then back on the other end, Miami, part of an 8-0 run. LeBron James, just 6 points at the half, but it was good enough there to put Miami up by 5. 1 tick of a second on the clock before halftime. Plenty of time for Lance Stevenson.
And this is a big play, not only for Lance Stevenson and Indiana, but they carried the momentum of this shot into that third quarter where Lance was electric.
One might say that he was born ready for situations like that. But Indiana was down by 4 at the break, third quarter, as you mentioned. Stevenson, 10 points in the period. Indiana goes on an extended 23-11 run, Rick, and it looked like the Pacers were back in control.
Full attack at the rim, compromising the Heat's defense. You know, more of this action is needed. It has to be more than just Lance Stevenson.
Stevenson had 10 in the quarter, 25 in the game. This 3 puts him up by 6 points. But back on the other end, trying to end the momentum, Norris Cole brings Miami down 1 after 3 quarters. LeBron James just 5 of 11, 10 points heading into the fourth, but Frank Vogel knows what's coming.
In relative terms, a quiet night from LeBron. What do you anticipate from him in the fourth?
He's going to try to take over the game. We know that.
Right, thank you, Mike.
As many as 8.
If coaching doesn't work out, a psychic might.
Yeah, he's pretty prophetic in his statement there. And LeBron James did come out much more aggressive. He did a good job of facilitating in that third, but it was all about going into attack mode offensively and defensively for the Heat as they were able to kind of get back into a rhythm in that fourth quarter.
With Miami down 1, David West, a hard foul on LeBron James, initially called a flagrant. Video replay showed that it was just a common foul, as called by the refs. Miami goes on a 10-0 run. LeBron James, 12 of his 22 coming in the fourth quarter, and defense was the key down the stretch. We didn't see much of this, Rick, in Game 1.
But what you saw here from Dwayne Wade is the type of effort that champions play with. Not taking for granted that LeBron might miss that shot.
LeBron and Wade scored Miami's final 20 points of the game. And it's a 4-point win for the Heat on the road. And just like last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, after 2 games were tied at 1, Miami in that fourth quarter shot nearly 59%, and they doubled up the Pacers on the glass, 12-6 in the last quarter of play. LeBron James said his monster fourth quarter effort wasn't anything out of his normal character.
Man, I just play the game. You know, however the game presents itself, I just try to take advantage of it. You know, I needed to do something in the fourth. I did a great job in the third quarter of attacking and getting my guys some open looks. I hit Cole for 2 threes, hit CB for a 3. But I needed to make a few buckets as well to help us in the fourth quarter, and I was able to come through for us.
It was simple, man. Today was just about how bad do we want it. You know, it wasn't about X's and O's. It just was about how bad do we want to win this game, you know, and we proved it. We showed it. You know, it wasn't a perfect game by no stretch of the imagination, but we kept fighting. We kept digging down deep, and eventually the game turned to our favor, to Miami Heat basketball. And, we love those games.
Now 3 days off before Game 3 in Miami with the series tied. Wade and James looking good, feeling good, and playing good.
Really, you have to take your hat off to how well those two played under the pressure of that fourth quarter, understanding the significance if they were to lose that game. Those guys combined to go 9 of 12 in that fourth. They outscored the Pacers by themselves. And as important as that was, for me, guys, it was more about what they did defensively. The Heat, they really put the Pacers on their heels defensively in that fourth quarter, upping the ante from an intensity standpoint. And this is really when they're at their best. They don't defend 48 minutes like this, but you see here, look at Paul George moving backwards. And anytime you get an offensive player going away from the basket, that means you're dictating how that possession is going to be played. And we saw a lot of that. The fact that Roy Hibbert's initiating your offense 25 feet from the basket, that's never a really good sign. And you can see that the Heat, they're in lockdown mode, denying the basketball. Everybody's connected, everybody's communicating and in tune. And then ultimately, it puts you in a situation where, again, you can make a defensive play. And that's what the Heat did time and time again. 3 successive possessions where they were able to disrupt and turn over the Pacers, get out in transition. And then the third one, again, their best player, but similar to what we saw before, the trap on the basketball, Paul George going away from the rim. Already they have shown you how passive they've gotten in this fourth quarter. And again, that intensity level by Miami, the fact that they could sustain that over the course of that stretch really is what allowed them to create that separation and ultimately tie this thing up.
A great fourth quarter effort on both sides of the ball by the Heat, especially Wade and LeBron, as you mentioned. But throughout the game, even though Paul George playing pretty good defense, Rick, it was what he was doing offensively. It certainly wasn't helping the Pacers.
Well, we saw him settle. These are shots he made in game one. But high volume of energy expended on the defensive end. And what I would love to have seen from Paul is more of this. Yes, he didn't get a foul on this penetration drive and attack there, but if he's going to settle for threes at this point in the game, they're not putting the pressure. Both he and David West are not putting the pressure on the Miami Heat defensively by taking the attack to them, putting them maybe in a penalty situation, getting to the free throw line. In game one, Paul George had 8 free throw attempts. Tonight he had very few, 6. But it's just the energy in the attack that I'd like to see more of instead of those jump shots.
Not only did Paul George struggle, he may have gotten injured. He told reporters following the game that he blacked out after colliding with Dwayne Wade during the course of the game. Here's the play, and it's scary. Good thing Indiana has a couple of days off, and hopefully he'll be okay for Game 3 on Saturday.
Ooh, yeah, he got hit, Rick, twice in his head from Dwayne Wade, and that absolutely is going to have an effect on you in terms of your mental equilibrium.
Yeah, that's not fun. That's not fun at all.
It is the first loss this postseason for Indiana when Roy Hibbert scores double figures, but the streak continues. When Roy Hibbert gets double-figure field goal attempts, they're 4-0. He was just 4 of 9 in Game 2's loss. So the series is even at 2.